Hello, BookTube. I thought I would do something a bit different today and just do an unscripted video about a topic that's been weighing on my mind quite recently because I've been working on a couple of author ranking videos that I'm still working on, and I've just been coming to the realization that some authors who are most well known for writing fiction, but then they have some, a lot of nonfiction stuff that they've written as well. And everyone talks about their fiction, and yet their nonfiction's just casually some of the greatest things they ever wrote. And so I thought I'd come up with a list of three, four, five, like seven, eight-ish authors who I think wrote better in nonfiction than fiction. There's no script for this. Like, this is literally thoughts coming to my head and then me spilling it out for you. So let's start with this. And we're going to start with a very obvious one. And for me, that's Mr. Charles Dickens, or Darl's Chickens. If you know, you know. I've made my thoughts on Dickens very clear. I feel so happy that I got rid of the Dickens novels I don't like. Look how happy I am now that I don't own Oliver Twist. But I like A Mutual Friend. I really like the Pickwick Papers. I like Hard Times. That's really it, to be honest. But his non-fiction travel writing, oh my god, it's so much more livelier than his fiction. I feel like you're getting rid of all the sentimental rubbish you're getting rid of the Dickensian stuff that makes Dickens's fiction so good, so famous. Sorry, not very good. Yeah, I just think he just wrote better non-fiction than fiction, in my opinion. Check out when he traveled to America and all the writings he done there. His diary is very interesting too. His letters. He was a very big man of letters. But yeah, so that's number one. What I'm going to be saying, Dickens wrote better non-fiction than fiction, which is funny because no one ever talks about his non-fiction really. But his travel writings are very great in my opinion. So that's the first one. Next, we're going to Orwell. Now, I don't even know how to explain my relationship with Orwell because we've always gone back and forth. I was one of those people that had to do 1984 in high school, and I liked it at the time, but ever since then, it's kind of just soured on me more and more. I never really liked Animal Farm, and it's because I'm ranking these novels for a video. I'm like, oh my god, his fiction's kind of not that good, and his non-fiction's better. I like London Down, the Paris one or whatever it was. The one where he's talking about him as a soldier and all that stuff. I find really fun. But yeah, his fiction just does nothing for me. And for me, it's because Orwell just never trusted his audience in the same way Dickens doesn't. They're very much over your shoulder. Orwell's telling you what to think, what to do. For someone that wrote 1984, he really doesn't let you think about or interpret his novels. He doesn't leave you that space in the same way that like a Wolf does or someone like that. But yeah, so Orwell's the next one. I'll talk about it more when I get to my ranking, but his three memoirs are just so much more interesting than his fiction novels, or even his essays. Oh my god, they're literally the greatest things he ever wrote. And people are still like, no, Animal Farm's better. Well, when you get to my ranking, they're going to be very much at the bottom. But so yeah, Orwell's just literally pick up his essays, and you don't need any more Orwell. So yeah. Next, we have an author that I've never liked at all, and that's D.H. Lawrence. I've never liked Lady Chatterley's Lover. I don't like that Sons and whatever that one was. I've done a handful of these novels. I haven't read everything because I don't really want to. But his non-fiction, randomly, is just really solid. I love his travel writings too. He done a lot of really interesting books about history. Read them. And the thing is with Lawrence in particular is that he does a lot of I can't say that word, like a lot of stuff like Kangaroo, for example. As an Australian, that novel is literally everywhere, and it's not really, it's fine, it's tolerable, but literally, if he wrote that book as a travel, like non-fiction, like travel journey, travel logs or whatever, if he'd done his talked about his time in New South Wales, like he just wrote his other travel writings, it would have been so much better than him trying to make it into a fictional story, at least in my opinion, because that's my whole thing about people that do like auto I can't say that word novels. It's just like just write nonfiction, but no one really reads nonfiction. So D.H. Lawrence, he's the next one. And that's a bit more personal. I just never liked a D.H. Lawrence novel at all, like literally. But he wrote really solid nonfiction, and Kangaroo, in my opinion, really should have been a nonfiction work. And let's keep going down the list. We're going to be talking about John Steinbeck next. Now, I haven't read all of Steinbeck. I've tried to do Grapes of Wrath. I've done East of Eden. I've read them over the last couple months or whatever. But literally, it does nothing for me. I don't know if it's because like it's more of an American thing, especially with the Grapes of Wrath, which literally does nothing for me at all. I just read and go, I'm like, that's a novel, and move on. East of Eden's a bit too pretentious for me. I think Steinbeck was trying to do reach for something that I don't think he could pull off really. But my God, his non-fiction stuff is so lively. Like The Moon is Down, or Once There Was a War, his journals during World War II. His journal writings as a journalist. I love that stuff to death. Travels with Charlie, I think is really solid. But for some reason, I've never connected with his fiction stuff. Winter of Discontent, again, I really like that one. But outside of that, Steinbeck's never done much for me. And again, I'm one of those, I'm thinking maybe I should try his like King Arthur Court one or whatever eventually. But I'm just like, I just want to do all of his nonfiction. So I probably will do that and then slowly creep my way out back into his fiction or whatever. But I need to work that when I pick out Steinbeck next. But and I still think he's a really solid author, especially for that generation of male writers. Like you compare him to like an F. Scott or Hemingway or Proust or like literally all of them. And Steinbeck was kind of better than all of them, in my opinion. Give him to me any day over Hemingway or F. Scott in particular, but I've just never liked those two authors to begin with. And Hemingway's obviously not on this list, but yeah, so Steinbeck's the next one. Again, I'll just pick out some nonfiction by my like and just keep going with that, really. Next, we randomly have Helen Keller. I just thought, why not put her on the list? Everyone thinks about the plagiarism she done when she wrote her first novel when she was like 14 or whatever, and that's whatever. But I love her two memoirs she wrote when she was like in her early 20s. Like, just incredible. Her essays are really interesting as well. Her lectures, because she was a teacher for a bit. This woman done literally everything. And for me, her fiction is just so like non-essential for Helen Keller, in my opinion. Again, I'm a bit of a do for a reread, but what I remember was that I just didn't vibe with it. I'm like, why would you read Helen Keller's like her fiction? Like, why would you go to that when you have, her two memoirs right there? And yeah, she's just one of those ones. So I'm like, and I don't think anyone even reads her fiction, to be honest, at this point. I feel like everyone just mostly talks about her nonfiction. But yeah, so Helen Keller's randomly on this list too. Then we have two authors who I think their nonfiction goes toe-to-toe with their fiction. Like, you can go either way and you'll get my approval pretty much. And the first one we're talking about is Kafka. I'm a Kafka girly at heart. Kafka was the first author I genuinely became obsessed with to an incredible point, but I absolutely adore that man. And you can pick up his letters. He's incredible. His diaries. I haven't read all of his diaries or his letters, but I've done a good chunk of them, and they're so interesting and incredible. Also, chuck in his drawings too, because they're fun. And I think they can go toe to toe easily with like the Metamorphosis or in a penal colony or a hunger artist or stuff like that, or in nonfiction too. Oh my God, Letter to Father, one of the most traumatizing things I don't think should have been published at all, because it's so intensely personal, but it's still out there anyway. But it's really great reading. But I absolutely adore Kafka's nonfiction, and if just read anything by Kafka, he's incredible. His retelling of Don Quixote too is incredible. But anyway, yes, pick up Kafka's nonfiction too, because it's just as great, if not a bit greater, because you get to learn more about Kafka, who was a very interesting person. I don't have much to say about him because what do you want me to say about him? But yeah, Kafka's a very interesting human being. Let's just say that. And then the last author we have here is Virginia Woolf. Now, you can go toe to toe with her fiction and non-fiction. They're both just as great as each other. Her uncommon readers, oh my god, they're so incredible. Check out that. Obviously, her essays are literally, god tier. Some of the greatest essays ever written. I'd put them up with Thomas De Quincey, but easily can go toe to toe with Miss Dalloway or To the Lighthouse or Orlando, in my opinion. And I just find Wolf to be just incredibly refreshing as a non-fiction writer when it comes to even like A Room of One's Own, where she's talking about her own like legacy as an English writer, as a woman, in terms of putting her legacy in place of the Brontes and going back forth to Aphra Behn. I just find that really refreshing compared to a lot of the male authors at that time, cough, Hemingway, cough, Faulkner, who would, be like, I'm something new and something different, and just be very boring at the same time. And I feel like Woolf is just such a breath of fresh air in her non-fiction. I do love her fiction as well, but I feel like you get her passion when she writes in non-fiction, because she's easily the most bookish person I've ever read. And again, you can't go wrong with Wolf, but I'm just going to say pick up some of her non-fiction too. This also, this list gives me another idea I've got to work on eventually, which is doing a whole, every major male author giving a recommendation for a woman who wrote the same type of writings they done, like same type of stories or genre or whatever, and do like the underrated female novelist who wrote it 600,000 times better than the men. Like I could do like Faulkner and then do like Flannery O'Connor or something like that as an alternative. I thought it'd be so cool, but don't steal that idea or make your own version of it. But anyway, that's just a quick little unhinged rant about non-fiction works by famous authors I think are better than their fiction. Let me know if you have any authors like these in the comments, and let me know, do you agree with my opinions here? Because I think I'm right, especially when it comes to like Lawrence or Orwell. I personally, just my thoughts. But yeah, thank you so much for watching BookTube, and I will see you next time.